it's called Monster. Now, I started it about 2 years ago, and strangely enough, it's become more and more relevant as I've been building it, which is normally the other way around. But yeah, it's because within that time we've had a few, we've had a couple of elections, and we've had a few sort of had a pandemic, and all those things kind of fed into what I was trying to work with in the beginning, which was kind of, I was looking at the relationship between the establishment of a country and its people, and how healthy that relation is, or how unhealthy it is.
It does seem like the world has changed a lot since you started this concept, 3-4 years ago, whatever it was. And you're right, you've listed off a few things there.
I don't think it's changed that much, but I think more of what I was trying to sort of look at. It's become more accentuated, and just because it's become more extreme, I think, in not more extreme than ever, but more extreme than in the last sort of 20 years, and it's kind of lots of sort of gaps are starting to show, and the sickness is becoming exposed.
So it's a mechanical show,
yes,
with audio and sound and music, and everything. It's
the sound was done by Paul from Orbital, Paul Hartnell. So he's done a really good job on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can testify to that. I've literally just heard it all, and it's immersive. It's just, it really it draws you in.
Yeah.
So tell me something about the what would people expect? What's it about?
I think you come and it's really hard. There's so much going on, so movement-wise and audio. It's really hard to take it all in one viewing. And I kind of wanted that. I don't like the idea of it being a show where you come, you get it, and you walk away again. So there's not really narrative. There's too much to hear all at the same time. It's got to be something that you revisit, and every time you come, you'll see or hear something different. And it's got to be that, because I don't like the idea of putting it in the bag and going home. So yeah, and like I say, the narrative is very loose, so you can walk away with completely different interpretations of it than the name or whatever. Yeah.
How do you end up putting together something like this? Because I mean, just looking at some of the the creations here, the mechanical sculptures that you've done, they're huge. I mean, how did you assemble this? Because I've been into your workshop, and you couldn't have laid this out in the workshop. So how do you go about doing it, putting it all together?
In bits, really. I mean, the mice I built, and then I put them away, and then built the rest. It got out of control. I originally was only building the mice, and they were just going to be pulling something along the floor or something, and then that suddenly just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I kept on adding to it until it became almost unworkable. But yeah, we got it in the end.
Did it in itself become a monster?
Definitely, and still is. I mean, I'm still having technical issues right now. We're opening in 2 days, so yeah, it definitely is. And a monster in the sense as well that I can handle the mechanical bits, but when it gets into the digital realm of corrupt files and things, I've got absolutely no idea. So yeah, it is a monster.
So when, I mean, just wandering around now, I mean, just having a look at this fantastic open space, but you've got a lot going on. It's far too much to describe, but there's a lot of elements to this experience that I would be able to say, well, that's the monster, or that's the monster. Yeah. And it's not always the obvious ones. It's not always the big mice. It's not always the sort of, it's what you might hear, or what you might just see in the corner of your eye. Is that why everything can be the monster in this?
I think, yeah, depending on your sort of ethical, political point of view, you might see different monsters in different things as well. I think, it's, for me, there's one big monster that it all kind of represents, but within that big monster there's lots of little ones, and also there's sort of this relationship between victims and perpetrators, and victims being perpetrators and stuff like that, so it's not all crystal clear.
And what's the big monster that it represents for you?
Aha! You have to come and find out.
That's the thing you got to find out. That's the thing you got to find out. How do you go ahead? I mean, you've created a number of. I mean, you're well known actually for your immersive installations.
Yeah.
How do you go about putting these together, and what's the thought process behind them?
I do no drawings, and I really don't. I have a rough idea visually what I want it to look like, and then once I get that idea in my head, I kind of sort of look at what sort of what I want to say with it, you know, and how I can visually represent that, and then I set off, and it starts, like in this case, it started with the mice, and then I sort of think, oh, I need a figure to say that. So then I think, oh, what kind of character could say that? So I build them, and then, oh, I need that character to say that. Or like in this case, I really wanted some school teachers, you know, to represent a kind of certain level of establishment and sort of brainwashing within that sort of establishment. And so I wanted these teachers barking out just nonsensical stuff like, you know, get a haircut, stop talking very loud, and all that sort of stuff. So so I built two teachers, and then next thing is who else can I bring in here? And it's interesting.
And the parts that you use, do you find the parts? I mean, because it looks like it has the appearance that it's found materials that you're cobbling, you're not cobbling, that's the wrong word, but you're really sort of putting them together, but yet there's thought behind the materials that you're finding.
I mean, it's the motors and the digital sort of, all the PCBs and stuff I have to buy, because otherwise it's too unreliable and it becomes a nightmare. But all the other bits, like the mice bodies, these beautiful thighs, like that, you know, my mate cut them down from a tree, and then I've sanded them and shaped them and stuff. So that was a lot of work in itself. And then it's all bits of shit. I mean, like all the furniture and stuff like that. It's got we've got a fly tipping spot down the end of my road, and it all just turn up there very conveniently.
I tell you what, it's a heck of a way to upcycle something, isn't it? When you just find all this stuff, and you can suddenly visualise, right, okay, well that's going to look perfect in this installation. That's going to look great.
And I wanted a lot of cupboards with doors opening and closing, with things going on within the cupboards, little scenarios. So I was after all these old cupboards, and they did just kind of turn up, you know. And what you can't get, you can normally get off eBay pretty cheap and stuff.
Giles, thanks very much. Looking forward to this.
All right.